Hi, welcome to The Network Effect, episode 11, if I'm not mistaken, which is fantastic, officially in the double digits, although obviously we hit that last week, but we're really excited to be back with another great episode for the week. Welcome with Siraj and Zain. Did that in the wrong order, but everything's backwards on the screen. Guys, we're so excited to have you back, and thanks for joining in. As usual, please say a quick hello in the chat and so forth. We love to see everybody in the comments. We try to comment during the show and the interviews and so forth when we can, and also afterwards, but it's great for you to have joined us. We've got a great show today. The Great Country Debate is back for our ending segment. So if you're interested in any sort of expansion into Asia, we'll reveal what countries we're looking at a little bit later, give you some insight into the pros and cons of expanding into a couple of regions. But first off, before we hit to the interview, I thought it would be interesting just to give everybody a little bit of an insight into some of the activity we've got going on here at Centuro Global and I guess the Network Effect. We've got some amazing events coming up, some very soon and some a little bit in the future that we thought it might be great to tell you about. I mean, we've literally got an event happening next week, right, Zain? And I thought maybe you could give them a bit of an insight too.
Yeah, we've got our second in-person event after all this time out of action. So literally next Thursday, if you're in London, if you're in the area, there are tickets available, so you do need to sign up in advance, but we'd love for you to attend. We're hosting a roundtable next Thursday at the Walbrook Club, which has been described as London's most discreet private members club. I've not been before, so I'm not sure what to expect.
You wouldn't tell us if you had it. It's too discreet.
Exactly.
Fantastic. I mean, who are we inviting along to this discreet club?
So, depends what you're interested in. So we're going to be discussing 3 key topics. There'll be multiple tables. So you'll be sat at the same table and the speakers will rotate, so you'll get to cover all the topics. But given what's going on at the moment, we've got 3 really interesting topics. So first of all, we're going to be discussing how companies can fulfill their duty of care towards employees who want to work remotely. So obviously, a lot of employees are now looking at working remotely, both domestically and potentially internationally. That comes with a whole host of issues for employers. So we'll be covering that. We'll also be looking at how you can fulfill immigration requirements by minimizing risk in a scenario now where we have rules changing all the time, different countries. I don't know if you guys saw, the other day there was a football match with Brazil and Argentina, and 3 or 4 of the Argentinian players apparently didn't disclose the fact that they'd come from the UK, because the UK is on Brazil's red list.
Yeah.
They're like national or international stars playing live on TV every week in the Premier League, and they didn't disclose it. And for some reason, I don't know why, the Brazilian health officials waited until kickoff and then ran on the pitch to arrest them or something, pull them off.
Yeah,
there's all sorts of chaos going on there. But either way, immigration risks, we'll be covering that. And thirdly, tax implications if you do want to set up a permanent entity to enable your employees to work in different locations. We'll be covering that. So it's also going to be a champagne afternoon tea, 3 p.m.
Nice. Good way to get some champagne into your work hours, make it an official event. So how we like to support our network here. And I think tickets are still available.
Tickets are still available, so please do get in touch if you're interested in attending.
Yeah, I think it's a few fantastic topics. Obviously, a key element of the value we try to bring and the understanding with the sort of strategy side of the consultation we provide at Centuro Global is that so many of these things are intertwined. As you said, the immigration has tax implications, and just even from an overall policy and culture impact, how remote work plays into that. So I think some great topics, and definitely worth it even bringing along a couple of colleagues if you're interested. So
and just to shout out, we're doing it in collaboration with Next Gen Global Mobility, so they're putting it on, and we're speaking.
Fantastic. So if you're interested, please pop us a comment now, and we'll send you over a link to how to get some tickets and so forth. So definitely worth checking out. That's coming up next week, as Zain said. But we're also really excited that we've finally sort of been able to lock in our conference. We've been trying to run this thing for about a year now, each time pushing out the dates. We've forever tried to be optimistic, and we want to be one of the forerunners in people getting events out and getting people back together and connecting. So we've always tried to be optimistic on the timeline of when we can run a conference, and obviously that means means we've ended up pushing it back. But we are officially locked in for March for our Global Expansion Conference. We just think it's a really important topic, very similar to what Zane just discussed with our London-based event, but really looking at the future of business, the future of corporates. Suraj, if you want to tell us a little bit more about the conference?
Yeah, firstly, from a venue point of view, we've been looking at, for a while, we were looking at Turkey and Cappadocia, just because they're synonymous with the hot air ballooning, and there's really some nice scenery there. We decided to move it from Turkey, unfortunately, just from a pure safety perspective, and the fact that we went for a country that's already open to, especially the UK and many other countries. So we are going to Barcelona, which is going to be great in Spain, at the Hotel Arts in Barcelona, beautiful hotel on the beachfront, great conference facility, and it's going to be the must go to event, and hopefully one of the first few where people are feeling comfortable again to travel, which is going to be 23rd to the 25th of March 2022.
Yeah, so a full 2 full days of conference. Arrive the day before. We'll have a little bit of an evening reception, obviously, and then we've got some amazing agenda items. I don't know if you can touch on them slightly. I know we're not officially releasing everything yet. Yeah.
Importantly, firstly, who's going to be there? And we're looking at founders and CEOs of scaling businesses that are moving around the world. We're looking at HR directors. We're looking at global expansion executives, plus our network of service providers, lawyers, accountants, immigration specialists, marketers, all coming together to discuss expanding companies globally. Because it's going to happen again. There's been a lot of activity. Our network of immigration specialists say that they are exceptionally busy, the busiest they've been without anyone actually moving. Because there's a lot of applications, there's a lot of interest to move globally, but they don't. But nobody is able to move, and we think that in the fourth quarter of this year and starting next year, people will start to be able to move. From the conference itself, we will have amazing keynote speakers. Some of them we've featured in the network effect, coming from around the world to come and talk to us. We will also have more than one track, so there's, if there's different interests you can do. We will have several workshops which are specific around your key interests, whether it is interest in accounting and legal, immigration, or key interests in an area where we will break up into workshops to discuss Africa, South America, Asia Pac, any of those, and Europe, America, all of those as well. So apart from the kind of thought leadership and knowledge side of things, there will also be a big component of networking, and then lots of fun as always.
That's it, and I think obviously you can tell by the name of the show that that's what we're all about here, and I think that's where it's a really interesting side of bringing together our partners as well as the sort of corporate clients and anybody interested in how they operate their global business, from first-time expanding businesses to large multinationals who are having to develop these sort of digital nomad policies, understand the legal and tax implications, and a big part of building a network is obviously finding the right partner. So this is a great opportunity to do that. And I think also what I'm really excited about for the conference is, as well as looking at some of the current processes and policies and how we can work collaboratively on building these things out with companies, is we're also going to be looking at some of the future technology and the implications of that sort of innovation as well, and how that plays into things. So we've got a lot of stuff around there's a lot of AI going on in the legal sector at the moment. Things like blockchain are bringing in smart contracts and the sort of implications and potential of that. So there'll be a lot of focus on the future of businesses and how companies and partners are going to be running in the future. So we're really excited for you guys to find out a bit more about that. We'll have announcements coming out periodically moving forward about the agenda, the speakers. We've got some great venue videos because the content's going to be great, but it's also an amazing place to be. There'll be a 3-course dinner on one of the nights, so we're really excited to sort of share that part as well. We know the tourist element has always played well in the great country debate in terms of why set up a business in the country, so we'll be leading on that as well. If you're interested to get more information, again, just mention in the comments right now that you'd love to get details and we can send you some over, or contact us at hello@centuroglobal.com and we'll send you some more information. Obviously, we'll keep talking about on this show as well, so tune in for us each week and you'll get more updates and get to find out about the conference. So yeah, that's just a couple of the things we've got coming up. There's a lot more in the future that we're really excited to keep you guys up to date with as well. But I guess without further ado, we want to jump into today's episode and head over to Asma with today's interview. So I guess let's roll the trailer.
Welcome back to the Network Effect, and great to see everyone again. So week on week, we bring you some fantastic guests on our show to listen to their inspiring stories and their journeys and what they've been doing. And like any other week, this week we've got a fantastic woman guest appearing on the show. She's been in my network for a number of years. She is from the APAC region, and she has achieved so much. She's a self-made woman, and I have a huge amount of respect for anyone that's self-made. And as we know, a lot of us, we achieve success through many different ways. And I've always seen that sometimes you can, through hard work and dedication, you can achieve success through many different means. But when you work for a brand that's well known, quite often what happens is that you as a person, you develop yourself, but you're carried by the brand. But when you are self-made and you achieve the success by creating your own brand and creating your own self-story, that's when you really achieve success. So without further ado, I'm going to welcome today's guest to the show, Rina Neoh. Welcome, Rina.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello, Asma. How are you doing?
I'm good, and how are you?
I'm perfectly well. Could have been better if not for COVID.
Of course.
If not for COVID, we would probably be meeting in Turkey, right? This year we missed it.
Yes. Well, so many things that we've missed this year due to COVID. But you're based in Malaysia, right now? Or is it Singapore?
I am in Singapore right now.
Okay, fantastic. So big time difference, but really grateful that you could join us for the show today. And so Rina, just tell me a little bit, because I just said earlier in our introduction, you're a self-made woman, right? You haven't had that support, that lifting. Sometimes we get that lift by other supporting networks around us, but you're a self-made woman. Tell us.
Well, I guess I started from negative because we came from a sort of like below average family. So growing up, parents were struggling, sort of like to put ends meet. After my parents got divorced, my mom brought us up single-handedly. Yeah, so that is what sort of like gave me that kind of resilience, street smartness. So looking back, I think that kind of childhood sort of made me who I am today. So I am like, okay, I've nothing. So what is there to lose anyway? So we come to this world zero. When we leave, is also zero. So it's important, point A and point B is already quite certain. Is in between. What do you do with it, right? Yeah. So that's a little background, I would say.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's an interesting story because I can perfectly relate to what you're saying. But I think one of the things I think people don't quite realize is there's one thing that, and as you say, many people start with nothing. There are many humble backgrounds. Many people start, but from slums to being a millionaire, it's not an easy task. Then in addition to that, when you think about situations, some people, they start in a situation, there are opportunities that they come by and then they achieve success through that. But in the Asia region, right, there are many obstacles that women particularly face. There's many pushbacks that you get, resilience, against sort of families, peer pressure, local pressure, religious pressure, cultural pressure. Can you tell us how you dealt with that?
Well, you are absolutely right. In Asia, culture plays a big role, especially in the Chinese family. But you're right. Growing up and sort of like getting the equal opportunities in Asia is not that easy. I mean, coming from a country where, in Malaysia, for example, we have Muslim and then Chinese and Indians. Unfortunately, there is a quota system in our local universities. So there are certain allocation for different races. So that time, overseas opportunities are not so many. And that's why when I went to school, it was very clear for me that I wanted to actually go to Singapore and actually build a career out of that, because at that time I heard Singapore was like a more open city. And because I did com science, so
Yeah.
at that time all the big IT companies were there, so it's quite natural that. And then when I went into work, of course, in IT space, those days, maybe 4 years ago, software wasn't something that's explosive right now. There wasn't SaaS, there wasn't, apps even, right? So a lot of times it was really hardcore coding, networking, dealing with, hardware. So there were many in my class. I remember undergrads. There were only like 5 or 6 ladies, girls.
Yeah.
And then when I went on to work with Microsoft and IBM, there were a few of us as well. Then after that, as I venture into investment, and as you know, there are already very few women entrepreneurs. There are even fewer women angel investors or even VCs, right? And the capital market, the financial market is definitely dominated by men.
Yeah.
So no doubt you have lots of challenges, but I always tell myself that as long as I don't put a barrier or a ceiling, when I walk into a boardroom for a discussion, I just tell myself that okay, it's fine. I don't see myself as a girl, a woman. I don't see the other party as a man or this, wow, handsome CEO or whatever. I just think that we're both humans. Yeah. So that's how I actually sort of like overcome myself. I don't think, that we need to put that skin, and that
But that's
label.
really funny. That's funny how you say that. Oh, well, I'm not this handsome CEO, but I can't see why we can't be the handsome CEOs as women as well, right? Walking into the boardroom is
That
equally as
pretty
effective.
CEO, right?
No, exactly. And so just picking up that point there where you're talking about, sort of the gender inequality that there exists. I mean, in Europe, it's existed. In the West, it's obviously, everyone talks about it. We see it more and more. But in Asia, I think the differences are going to be even greater than anywhere else in the world. And you say to me you've played with boys in your childhood, etc. And we have these conversations all the time about why should it be a woman thing, right? We talk about equality, we talk about bringing women into the conversations, letting women be in the boardroom. Why are we having this conversation at all? Isn't it about skills? Isn't it about experience? Why does this exist? I mean, what are your experiences in APAC? I mean, because you're advocating gender equality. And how has that come about? Is that through your own challenges, or is it because you've seen it with your own eyes through the companies you've invested in and you want to encourage more of it?
I think, I would say I'm not the extreme feminist as I want to champion to be equal to a guy. My question is always, why should I be equal to a guy? Why can't I be better than a guy, right?
Yeah.
So I always tell people, I said, I guess the best thing I could do for myself is just to be the better version of myself every day. I don't want to be benchmarking myself against Oprah Winfrey, Jack Ma, because those characters are not mine. It's not my true self. It's already taken. But of course, I learn from all these great leaders, and it doesn't mean what they do, and I apply it wholesale in my situation. It works. It probably doesn't work. So for me, since throughout my career I've been dealing with a lot of even for my first venture fund, there are 5 of us. 4 of them are actually guys, I would say more senior than me. And I'm the only girl in the office, and the youngest and probably the poorest. But I'm always grateful that in my life, some of the greatest opportunities that were given to me are by men, by guys. But my mentors are mostly guys. But there, if you look at it, right, there are also women who sort of like go to the extreme side. So sometimes, during conversation, we were discussing like actually the one that pulls the woman down is actually another woman. So I'm not sure if this is because
Yeah.
because when it comes to the word jealousy, right? Women top it, like we're so insecure in
Yes.
sometimes.
Ah.
So I say, I guess for me it's like I'm always quite secure and certain about myself. As long as I do the things, I feel right, I can sleep at night, then I really don't have to bother how people think about me. Because there's no, I can't be pleasing everyone.
No, I totally agree with you. And I think you picked a really good point there. It's the sisterhood, right? So I think women bringing other women down, and men have a big part to play, I guess, in supporting women. And I don't think, from my own personal experiences, that there have ever been bad experiences about not being supported or not getting, the assistance that you need. But it is women themselves that are not doing enough. So is this conversation about, let's have gender equality, or is it about women need to think about their sort of peer groups and think about supporting each other more in terms of educating them? So I want to move on now. Slightly, Rina, to kind of the achievements that you've had. So, you've talked about all the difficulties and the challenges that you've been through. You're part of a venture fund. So tell us a little bit about how you started your fund and the size of it and the types of companies you invest in.
Okay, so Ficus Venture is the world's first Shariah-compliant VC fund. So we are domiciled in Malaysia. So this is actually our probably year 1 of investing. So we have actually deployed 2 investments. But prior to this, I started a boutique VC fund called Mercatus in 2006. So we were the early ones. So Mercatus, as I mentioned earlier, it was me and 4 other very senior guys, and they are all, I would say, property developers, those brick and mortar business tycoons. I had a hard time, basically, I would say, living up to their expectation in the first 1 or 2 years, because I was the one who actually sort of brought this idea up and actually asked them to support me in setting up this fund. So at that time, I was very grateful that I was given this experience. So the fund actually started in 2006, and I basically exited when the fund finished in 2013. And we have actually invested in more than 100 startups. The LPs and the GPs are 5 of us. Unfortunately, 1 passed on. So throughout that period, we have actually listed 3 companies. One is two is actually vanilla IPO, and then the other one is a reverse takeover. But I'm always grateful that throughout that period of 7 years, I was given the opportunity not just to look at startups, because these co-founders of mine, I would say they are my boss, because they are obviously much more experienced and much richer than me. They came with, I would say, other businesses that they had as well. So I basically run the operations, and that gave me a lot of experience in managing the operations of the fund, and also looking at startups to invest in. So I would say I'm lucky to be able to actually source for ideas and deals, basically nurture it, and had 3 experiences of actually IPOing the company that we invested in. So I'm actually enjoying those works. So I invest in brick and mortar schools. I invest in a lot of my personal portfolio. I would say 50% of them is in edutech. And since I love I mean, I'm a comp science student. Obviously, I have the geek side of me. So I love technologies,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so just
Yeah.
picking up from there as well. So you are into robotics, right? When you sort of talk about the geek side of you, and you are very much into building robotics and understanding, and you've got a robot yourself, Cruiser, right?
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about him. Obviously, he's not on the show today. He's obviously in Philippines somewhere.
Yes.
But
Yes. Cruiser started. I've always been interested in automating things, digitizing stuff, because it's about looking at how we can achieve the same results in a shorter time, in a more efficient manner, or even achieving a better result, with doing things differently, right? So robotics programming, or at least the skills I learned in my comp science class, allows me to break down issues and challenges and compartmentalize them, so I can actually solve them part by part. Right? That's how you actually do coding. So. When the opportunity came, when I visited Shenzhen, a company called UBTech, I was actually looking for robotic classes to teach my preschool children. How to let them build something of their own. Because if the parents buy a robot from, let's say, a supermarket, I realized that they were just playing it with the robot for a period of time, and then new toys come, they will switch. But I realized that some of the kids, when they build something, they have this emotional attachment to it. So they learn how to build it rather than to just take it as what it is, right?
yeah.
So when we in schools, when we read stories to the kid, we don't, as teachers, we don't read the whole story and then the kids is listening to it. That means you're telling the kids already, this is it. This is the end.
Yeah.
So I tend to ask my teachers to read, maybe one or two sentences, and then we will ask the kid to continue. What do you think would happen? So they will create so
Yeah.
many types of different stories. That's how you encourage them to imagine. So I felt robotics programming was something that I can, train the kids to bring out, the other side of them, the logical thinking, the creative side of it. So it started with that. And then, of course, UBTech is a unicorn in the robotics space. They have the education part, which is robotics training for kids. They also have humanoids, which the Cruiser that I have. Basically, Cruiser is not a robotics arm like those you see in a factory. They don't do physical tasks. But what Cruiser has is actually the brain, so it can process a lot of things. So, and of course, it's actually mobile, so it basically can move a bit, and then it has a 99% accuracy in facial recognition. So it has that capability. So then the opportunity came. So I took the so-called rights to distribute Cruiser. But Cruiser came as like a robot with some basic settings, just like all AI and machine learning, right? My team has to build the brain of Cruiser. So think of Cruiser as just a baby. You
Yeah.
need to teach the baby, you need to nurture it. So we were very lucky to be given the chance to actually deploy Cruiser in one of the best digital bank in Philippines, called Union Bank of the Philippines. So they were going through a digital transformation phase, and they wanted to go all out for it. So they are the first bank in, I think, Asia that has Cruiser serving as a concierge in their
That's
in their
brilliant.
digital branches.
And the most important thing is he brings you coffee, right? So if you don't achieve that,
So basically, Cruiser is actually walking around the banking hall. So it will be interacting with the customers. Yes, Cruiser can order coffee on your behalf, right? Cruiser can call a Grab for you. Cruiser can do basic transactions because it has a screen, it has a camera. So basically, now Union Bank has got a sort of like you can just scan your check and deposit it. So it's basically taking a lot of those monotonous tasks out, from the tellers of the bank. And of course, it Cruiser is just one part of their whole
Yeah.
digital bank system. But I'm glad they're actually embracing that. Yeah. So before COVID, we were actually doing pilots for the malls. So basically, because Cruiser is intelligent, if the basic function itself, right, you can talk to him and he can respond to you as an intelligent,
Yeah.
I think my colleague sent you some clips of it, right? I was just talking with him casually, asking him what coffee he has and all this. But I do see Cruiser moving forward, right? To be the walking billboard, to be the ambassadors of brands, because he will be walking around in the malls and basically, if you interact with him, since he have that camera, he can basically scan your profile, and if you choose to allow him to access your social media, he would probably say something like, "Hi, Asma, you know, you look so beautiful wearing that Armani, shirt. By the way, there's Armani store on the second floor, and we have a sales going on. Would you like me to bring you there?" So he will probably bring you there.
Amazing.
So
I was
go
going to
ahead.
say to you, so, you've obviously investing in more sort of education, ed tech startups and robotic startups. What about scaling these companies? I mean, are they normally just in the APAC region? What happens with them? Do you support them to scale globally and to become, larger entities? How far do you take them down the journey before they move on?
Well, if I'm investing as an angel investor, I guess I don't have a specific time how long I would hold on to that investment. Like for example, my preschool, My Champs, is basically just a brick and mortar, very I would say science-driven preschool, because they've got research and studies on how the brain of the children, the neuroscience part of it. So it affects how we design the curriculum, understanding how the brain of the children work, right? So, and there is, because the founder is also an arts actor, a theater guy, so it's a combination of science and art, a balance of it. So that's the IP is in that pedagogy. So for that investment, since I'm a master franchise, it's basically just going to be a business. So I have a master franchise for Philippines, so that is all. But of course, I would love to say, okay, I have the resources and there is a opportunity to start in Africa, for example. I would love to do it, because I think building a brand, although I'm not a brand owner, but as a brand, I'm sure the brand owner will want to be in different places, which they already have, in Vietnam, in Australia, in Malaysia, and in Cambodia as well.
Yeah.
But for the other tech, edu-tech startup, or the other startups, tech-related startups, for example, I also invested in the electric vehicle company from Malaysia, so EV motorbikes, right? So these are real motorbikes where you need a license, not the moped, right, or the mini scooter. So that one, we have great plans, at least for the APAC region, because there are like about 600 million population here, at least 200 million motorbikes, especially in Vietnam. The whole city is full of motorbikes, and in Indonesia. So that one, I'm the first investor. So right now, I'm actually bringing them to other VCs. So my fund actually invested in it as well. So definitely, as an investor, I would say, I would love to classify myself as a mentoring angel or a mentoring VC, because we basically will be sort of hand holding them until, of course, when the fund needs to exit, which is year 7. But as a personal investor in the company, I'm actually okay if they grow in the right direction and just giving me good dividend.
Great. Okay. And so, what is next for you then, Rina, over the next few years? I mean, you've achieved a lot already in many ways, and you've done. I mean, a lot of your work is quite commendable. You're not only just doing good and giving back, but you're also investing in startups that are doing good as well. So, what's next for you? I mean, have you achieved everything you want to achieve, or are there plans to do something more?
Well, I don't think, well, first of all, let me address the word success. I think it's a very subjective word. I would say that if you measure in terms of financial, yes, I'm very comfortable. I could have retired actually, easily. unless I buy Hermes bag every day. but but I'm not, right? So if you're asking me what is next for me, I would say that I've always wanted to see more women becoming, angel investors, more women VC like yourself. It is not easy. I guess, we probably have this understanding that actually going to raise funds is one of the most difficult thing. I mean, the VC also have their difficult side of it, right? Just like the startups raising fund. But for me, I think I would want to spend more time in Malaysia because since I've been away for almost 22 years, I want to go back and see how I can help the micro entrepreneurs in Malaysia or around Asia, because I believe if I were to spend my time with a tech startup, which is already my job, right? The impact would be probably for a small group of people, like the founding team, the investors. But if I could perhaps divide my time like 30%, 30%, 30%. One is my job that I have to do. I have to identify real good tech companies so I can return the investments promised to my LP. That's my job, right? So I'm very clear about it. The other 30%, I would love to do my own thing. So right now, I'm actually doing my doctorate. So having seen so many startups, right, I am beginning to see a trend, but it is all in here. So I need to perhaps go to a class, talk to a professor, and how I could really put things in context, right? And see if whatever my observation or even your observation, we can spot something or we can identify something that's missing. I guess that's one part that I'm currently working on. And then the other part is, okay, I've got all these resources, I've got this network. Why would I want to keep it to myself? I can't bring it to my grave anyway. So if a startup that comes to me and say, would you invest in me? I would say, okay, it's not in my investment mandate as an angel, because besides money, I don't have any other value add, for example. And it's not really in my fund's mandate because as a VC, we have a more stringent mandate, right? Industry stages. But I've always said to myself, even if I don't invest in you, I could help you. I could basically give you a feedback on how, perhaps, you could do better in your deck. Perhaps you could talk to this person. So I guess that's what I wanted to do, to talk to more micro entrepreneurs, because those are the guys who actually need help. Right?
I think this is absolutely, you're singing my language. I think we should be the first all women powered VC to help those micro businesses. I think there's a lot to be said for that.
Yes.
And I think, the fact having a network is critical, but then using the network to the benefit, and it's not always about financial. I agree with you completely. A lot of people approach us with, lots of desires for money, but the value that, we can bring in terms of the experience that you've had, particularly in your region as well, I think people can't compare that to the value of money. So absolutely fantastic. It's been great speaking to you, Rina. I think there's a lot more conversation that I'd love to have with you. But this has been amazing, and I think you've given us some great insights for everyone to hear about. And so I hope we continue to stay connected, and we can have a separate conversation about creating something, you never know, that disrupts this space.
Yes.
You never know.
Yes.
But I really appreciate it, and thank you for your time, and I hope to speak to you again soon.
Thank you, Asma. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Bye.
And we're back. Fantastic interview there from Asma, and thank you so much, Rina, for joining the show. We really appreciate it, and some great insight there into, I guess, coming from nothing to everything, which is
Hermes
fantastic
bag
to
a day.
hear.
What did she say? Yep.
Sorry. I guess my first question, I think I put this in our LinkedIn chat, was can the robot get coffee? So far I can order coffee but not make you one, so I might wait for the next model, I think, to get my personal robot assistant.
So you want the robots to work hard for you? That's the innovation bit.
Yeah.
I think it was.
I like it's almost, isn't it almost like a mobile Siri or
Yeah.
in that they follow you. I love the example about in a shopping mall where it can actually scan who you are with facial rec, then look at the specials. I don't even have to go to the board and go, where do I need to go? It'll just go, hey, Sarah, come follow me. I'll take you to the whatever store.
The example of you look good in Armani, let me take you to an Armani store, might be a little too specific on the capability there. But yeah, I agree that it's like, how can I help you? Cool, I'm looking for this shop. Oh, let me walk you there.
That's pretty cool. I mean, especially if you're in a massive mall. Like if you look at places like Singapore, Dubai, it's like a maze. So if you've got this robot that can bring customers to your store. That's
share information.
Yeah. I like the fact that she said that she moved to Singapore for the opportunity to set up a VC before it was really a big thing in the region. So she obviously saw the opportunity, and everyone always talks about Silicon Valley, Europe, Americas, but Asia's got so much tech. Historically, people say, Japan's got all the new technology, and then it shifted to startup culture, San Francisco, Silicon Valley. Now it's like, well, actually, there's still so much in Asia across the whole continent, and especially the micro businesses, they need help, but the talent is there.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, obviously, China's a big example, and there's a lot of the smaller Asian nations are doing fantastic work as well, but how far they're ahead just in terms of payments and so forth, all being through WeChat, and they're not using bank cards and scanning QR codes and so
facial
forth.
recognition.
Great examples.
Yeah.
So I mean, as we do, we like to connect things here. So for today's great country debate, we are looking at Southeast Asia countries. We've all got one, and if you're new to this, the great country debate is where each of us pick a country from around the world in a specific region, and we've got 90 seconds, as you can see up here, to explain to you why you should pick this country. Basically, we get into a little bit of a debate and then give you some reasons why our country is the best place to expand. There's a lot of traditional places that people expand to first. Obviously, if the US is a massive market, Europe and the UK and so forth, but there are a lot of amazing alternatives out there. And obviously, once you get to your fourth, fifth country, you need to be looking at these sorts of options as well. So we really wanted to dive into some of these options for you. I myself am covering Malaysia today. Zain, who are you representing?
Singapore.
Yeah, fantastic. Rina will have backed you up there. And Siraj, who are you covering off today?
Yeah, I'm going with where my heritage actually comes from, which is Indonesia. Way back about 350 years ago, some Indonesian slaves came across down to Cape Town and settled down here, and I'm kind of from that heritage. So it's quite nice to have gone back and researched a bit more about this country.
What was your surname originally?
Thankfully, the surname used to be Ong Tong Tobias, and a guy by the name of Taufiq Ong Tong Tobias changed it to Tofi, his surname, and I pray and I say thank you to him for every day of my life that he changed it from that to Tofi.
Yeah, fantastic. Any volunteers to go first, or I'm happy to take first peg. I can't remember who won last. I think you did with Greece, didn't you? Yeah. Do you want to kick us off then?
Go on then.
All right. Well, as we said, Zain's going to have 90 seconds to tell us everything about Singapore. So we'll give you a little countdown. 3, 2, 1, and go.
Well, our guest today, Rina's originally from Malaysia and moved to Singapore for business, so I think I've won already. Just kidding. So I'm going to talk about 4 key reasons why I think Singapore is one of the most conducive places for business in all of Asia. So number 1, this is Siraj's favorite, location. It's close to both China and India, which are massive powerhouses in Asia. But if you look at the airport, Changi, it serves over 80 international airlines with connections to more than 330 cities. You couldn't be more connected if you wanted to. and it's also rated #1 in the world for logistics performance. Actually, sorry, in the region, not the world, in Asia, for logistics performance, which means if you've got physical goods, it's the easiest place to get them in and out, move things around. Second reason, ease of doing business. So it's always up in the top kind of 1 or 2, currently #2 in the world for ease of doing business. It has really simple business setup processes, low corporate tax rates, AAA economy, one of the best IP systems in all of Asia, strong and stable political system, really low crime rates, can't really go wrong. Number 3, I touched on it, attractive tax frameworks and international trade agreements. So it's got one of the most amount of trade agreements in the world. It's got over 70 double taxation treaties, so you won't get taxed twice. Number 4, running out of time, strong workforce. It's got brilliant local talent, but also excellent immigration policies, which means it's easy to bring talent in. So wonderful source of talent. Vote Singapore.
Hey, you rounded that up well there. I did notice the increase in speed at 30 seconds. Got it in time.
To cut a few things up.
Yeah, well done. I'm happy to go next if you want to finish this off,
Yeah,
Siraj.
go for it.
Okay, fantastic. So I'm going to cover off Malaysia, obviously. So I'll let one of you guys give me the countdown.
We'll do it. 3, 2, 1.
Fantastic. So compared to other countries in the region, Malaysia is cost effective, and thus many companies choose to incorporate in Malaysia rather than Singapore and countries like Hong Kong. English is regarded as a second language there, so no problems. Malaysia is located in the heart of the Southeast Asia sort of network of countries and offers a gateway to all of the regional markets, which, as Rina pointed out, is over 600 million people with a collective GDP of $2 trillion. So major business centers such as Tokyo, Hong Kong, Shanghai, Seoul, they're all within a couple of hours of Malaysia. 65 plus double tax treaties and 5 export-orientated free zones, thus zero customs duty, focused on exports. So one of the interesting things about Malaysia is companies with in manufacturing, agriculture, hotel and tourism sectors can apply for specific sort of statuses which give them benefits on their taxes. There's a government initiative as well that has been providing free education to the country for a while, so this has contributed greatly towards a developed and productive workforce in the country, so you'll be able to get very effective staff in Malaysia as well. Ranked #2 for doing business by the World Bank in Asia, so probably just behind yourself, unfortunately. But Malaysia is an amazing and cost-effective option.
Just in time. I didn't try and throw you off at the beginning there. Sorry about that.
That's okay. That's all right. That's all right. All right, Siraj, lucky last.
There we go. Happy to go.
Cool. 3, 2, 1, kick it.
Okay, so Indonesia, let me start off by saying, is more than Bali. So everyone thinks about Indonesia and you think of this beautiful place, Bali. You guys have already done the job around speaking about the region, and we are, and Indonesia's right there in the middle of it. It's an archipelago of 17,000 different islands, which is amazing. And what I didn't realize is that it's the 4th most populous country in the world. There's 270 million people in there. So the domestic market in itself is absolutely massive. It's the 10th largest economy by purchase power, and it's part of the G20 summit. They've done amazingly well over the last 20 years, reducing poverty. And what's great is they have just announced a $400 billion investment in infrastructure, 25 new airports, power plants, and the whole lot. They also have 8 special economic zones where you also have your VAT exempt and custom and excise exempt. And there are 33 double tax treaties. I told you all the good stuff because, to be honest, there's quite a few bad ones in that it's quite difficult. There is a lot of bureaucracy in setting up. You have to look at what kind of percentage you can do to set up. It's very expensive. $750,000 you need from a minimum capital investment. But it's Bali, guys. It's Bali. Just remember that.
I was going to jump in with a bit of a rebuttal there, but I think you did it for us. So
$750,000 to get started with.
Yeah.
Is that in general?
Yeah,
or?
look, guys, when I did the research, I was looking at this. I know we're going past the 30 seconds, but you know, I was looking. It's really quite onerous when it comes to that. They've also got this thing called a negative investment list. And I just want to tell you in that certain industries have a different percentage as to how much foreign ownership there can be. And there's quite a long list of it. Not too long though, about 20 industries where you would think oil and gas, you can have 75. Then there's data communication and call centers at 67%. And so they're all big industries. And then right at the bottom, it says an acupuncture facilitator at 49%. I'm trying to think why they would have that as an industry on this list. And it's the lowest bit of foreign investment that you can have. So, Ben, if you do want to open up an acupuncture kind of place, you're going to have a 51% local partner there.
Fantastic. Well, thank you. Sounds like Indonesia's not the place, though.
Although, could you be the partner with your heritage, Sarah?
Yeah, there you go.
Maybe I'll catch
a
few extra percentages there.
Yeah, I did notice that Malaysia has a $2 USD minimum capital. Normally we see $1 as the sort of gesture of the lowest of low without being zero. I don't know why in Malaysia it's $2 as minimum capital.
Double the money, I guess, across the board.
Yeah. How do we raise investment this year? We can double it by $1 to $2. Fantastic. Well, Suraj, maybe if you've slightly taken yourself out of the lead there, maybe we'll throw it to you as a gesture of you taking yourself off the lead. Malaysia or Singapore? Where would you be setting up your business?
Look, to be honest, I would go, and I would go Singapore. And there's quite a few reasons. I think it's the absolute leading in so many different ways when it comes to all the things that Zain said. From an entrepreneurial perspective, I know that you can have did you say how long it takes? But as far as I know, they've got a facility you can literally be up and running within a day.
Yeah, it's completely digital.
All online.
Yeah.
So in a few hours you can do it.
Yeah, so it's nice and easy, and you can do it off-site, out of country as well. So you can literally open up your laptop now and set up a business in Singapore before the end of the day.
We've got the best partner who can help with that, so get in touch.
Yeah, fantastic. So if you do want to go to Indonesia, let us know though. We can help with all of those difficulties with getting into the market.
That's what I wanted to say as well. It's not impossible. There actually are reasons to be there. You just need a bit of hand holding, and we can do that.
17,000 islands as well. I didn't know that. That's crazy.
17 or 7?
Yeah. 17,000. Yeah.
It's a lot of exports to think about. Fantastic. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us for another episode of The Network Effect. We're going to wrap up today, but please join us again next week, as usual, Wednesday at 2 p.m. on LinkedIn. Or if this is the first time joining us, you can also catch us on YouTube and pretty much anywhere in podcast form to catch up to the episodes in your own time. But thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, everybody.
Cheers.